Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's show. Today we're going to talk about CBD and why it took me so long to talk about CBD with Suzy Hardy. You'll hear all about that on today's episode. But before we get to that, just a few quick announcements. Our June 30-day free manifestation challenge is happening this week. So this is the last week to sign up and register. Please don't sign up after the 1st. It's hard to get people in after the fact. And then some of you signed up after we started the March event and you didn't either leave your email address or you gave me an email address you didn't use, so I can't connect you. So go ahead and re-sign up if you're waiting in the wings and I can't connect you. I've sent most of you messages through Messenger on Facebook. So if you want to get involved, this is the last week to register for the June 30-day manifestation challenge, which is free. So go to jjflazanes.com/30day. That's 30day. Again, that's jjflazanes.com/30day to register. And the last announcement that I'll make is that a couple weeks ago, you guys heard Doug and I talk about some of our new partnerships and with a new company that we are working with, and they're very interested in promoting my messaging. So what that means for me is they're going to be doing a lot of promotion. We're going to be having what's called a pilot event here in Los Angeles in September. And that's going to be like a trial. And then if that works well, then we're going to do a tour next year to maybe 10 of the top cities in the United States where you guys are listening. So later, I'm going to ask you where you live so that I know where the majority of you live. Right now, obviously, there's the California, San Diego, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, New York, Chicago, DC, and that's all I know right now. So if you live somewhere you'd like me to come, you can definitely send me an email and let me know, and we'll be doing a little bit more data requesting later. So, I mean, you can just sign up and tell me where you live. That would be great. But this company is going to be pouring a lot of promotion into me and my messaging. And what that means is some of my pricing is going to have to increase to cover the costs of the percentage that I'm going to be giving to them in exchange for their promotion and their investment into me. So if you are interested in coming to the Manifestation Bootcamp, that is in October, currently that pricing can only last for another couple of weeks until this promotion begins. Once it begins, I have to increase the price to cover the costs. So if you're interested, go to jjflazanes.com/bootcamp. And it's going to be led by mostly me and Lisa Thomas. So Lisa's going to be there to help clear any blocks that you have in manifestation, whether it be to money or to love or to time or to worthiness or whatever your issues are. So it's absolutely worth the investment to come and be in the room for her clearings, as well as all the fun stuff that we're going to do and the tools you're going to walk away with. So jjflazanes.com/bootcamp. I believe I can keep the pricing the way it is until about June 5th, and then the pricing has to go up. So on to today's show. So is CBD safe? Is it really safe? Well, today we're talking with Suzy Hardy. She is the owner of CBD Fountain, an organic hemp wellness company, and co-host of the Food Heals podcast. Forever interested in natural healing and wellness, and retired massage therapist and energy healer herself, Suzy discovered the remarkable healing power of hemp CBD while trying to help her own back pain. She founded CBD Fountain to be an organic and vegan product line and only creates products that she herself would use, including body lotion, lip balm, facial care, tinctures, and pet care products. Welcome to the show, Suzy.
Thanks, JJ. Thank you for having me.
This is a long time coming, this conversation.
It is.
We've been talking about your new business that you've been running now for what, a year, 2 years?
Little, like a year and 3/4, if I'm going to be specific.
Well, I knew it was longer than a year. Just wasn't
Longer
sure
than a year, less than 2. Yeah.
Okay. And it's something that I have not talked about at all on the show. And I've been waiting for a reason. And while there are topics that float out there in the universe that are interesting to me, until they become more personal, I'm not as excited about them. And so this topic became more personal recently. And, you know, one of the questions that I know a lot of people still, myself included, feel about CBD, for those of you that don't know, what does CBD stand for?
Cannabidiol, which is a mouthful. So CBD is just easier to say.
Got it.
Mhm.
And we'll talk more about all the science behind it here in a minute, but because it comes or because people associate CBD with pot,
Mhm.
the majority of people still think, and even I knew this before I tried it, but most people think that there's a high that comes with using
Right.
CBD.
Right.
And so that has been one of the reasons why many people don't consider it, don't use it, don't explore it. And and so just as a quick brief story here for me and how we're having this conversation, it was not that long ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, that I found myself there was 3 nights that I wasn't sleeping, and I believe I had a little bit of restless leg. Now, I have something going on that's pinching a nerve, if you will, that's causing the restless leg, so I know where it comes from, but that doesn't make it go away, and I don't like pharmaceutical drugs. I don't like over-the-counter prescriptions or drugs. However, occasionally, if something is bad enough, I'll take an Aleve or I'll take a Motrin. When I found myself taking Motrin 3 nights in a row, I'm looking at these bright orange pills that I do not want to be taking and thought
Right.
to myself, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why not try CBD at this point? Like
Yeah.
what's the hesitation? So, there is all the stigma for those people who don't do drugs or who don't get high or who don't ever experiment in any of the psychedelic drugs in CBD because they still think it means that you get high. So I thought, well, I know it's natural. So at this
Mhm.
point, I'd rather just take something natural than to take something synthetic, which is why I reached out to Suzy and I
Mhm.
said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to try it. I'm ready to explore it, and let's talk about it on the show. So she was kind enough to send me some samples, which I've been trying, and we'll talk more about that as we get into the show. So Suzy, let's. So we talked about the name of it, and
Mhm.
so I guess let's go back to what it is
Yes.
and how and why does it help the body?
Yeah. Of course. So not only, you mentioned CBD is natural, not only is CBD natural, but our bodies make these compounds. So CBD is a cannabinoid. THC, the substance in marijuana that gets you high, is also a cannabinoid. There's over 100 different type of cannabinoids, including CBN, CBC, CBG. It goes on and on and on. Those have also therapeutic effects, but CBD has really come out as a winner in terms of helping a lot of different things. So it is naturally occurring in hemp and marijuana, and we could talk about the differences between those two plants because there's a lot of similarities. But the main difference is industrial hemp, where I get my CBD from, is very high in CBD and very low in THC. The opposite is true is for the marijuana plant. They look the same, they smell the same. If you saw them side by side, you could not tell the difference. But the marijuana plant, when tested, has high THC and still CBD, but lower in percentage. So that's the main difference there. CBD, so the way we utilize these substances, all cannabinoids, endocannabinoid system, that lives in our nerve cells. So when you eat or rub on or vape CBD and it gets into your body, it's absorbed through receptors in the nerve cells and it is engaging with the cannabinoid system. This system itself governs a lot of things. It governs homeostasis mainly, which covers sleep, appetite, mood, inflammation, pain response, and the immune system. So taking CBD from a plant, we call that a phytocannabinoid, are the ones that we make in our bodies are endocannabinoids. Taking it from a plant like hemp, and there are other plants that do create CBD. I think I read somewhere that pine needles have some CBD in them, but you want something that has a lot of it in it, and that's why we use industrial hemp. Taking it from a plant boosts that system, that endocannabinoid system, just like vitamin C boosts the immune system. And that's the easiest analogy that I can make for people. And that's why it helps with so many different things. And on top of that, because our body makes them already, you can never take too much in terms of overdosing. There is no toxicity level. This has been proven, and there's more science to be had because it's been in this gray area and not even discovered until 1993. We didn't even know about CBD till 1993, which is fairly recent. The United States Department of Health and Human Services patented CBD. And in the patent, which was strange because I thought you couldn't patent a natural substance, but they did. And in that patent, it states how it has wonderful, the certain qualities, neuroprotectant, neurogenerative, highly antioxidant, but also most importantly in that patent shows how they did tests with up to 700 milligrams of CBD per day in adults to try to find a toxic level to see if there was any, like, and that's a lot, people. That's a lot. 25 milligrams is the quote unquote average adult dose. So 700 is a lot. And they found that there's no toxicity. There's no side effects. The worst thing that happens if you take that much of it is you would take a nap or a long sleep. So that in a nutshell is CBD. And I could go on, but I'll let JJ interject.
Well, again, it took me a long time. I had to hear about it helping people with anxiety. And me, I'm much more interested in finding the root cause of something and then treating it naturally to heal it, so you don't need to take anything. Like, I don't want to be taking anything.
Right.
But when it came to I'm taking Motrin, and I definitely don't want to be taking pharmaceutical drugs or over-the-counter synthetic, made in a lab chemicals, if I have an option of taking something more natural. And honestly, before I hit the Motrin, I was doing homeopathic stuff and nothing was helping long term. And it wasn't helping. And it doesn't happen all the time. It would happen occasionally. And I have stuff that did help a little bit, but then it stopped helping. And so it's when I get to the point of like, I just need to sleep and I need a good night's sleep. And there are certain days of the week I get up early. Sleep is so important for regenerating everything in your body, especially your hormones, that I get a little bit nutso about like, oh my God, I have to sleep. So I'm not going to take a sleeping pill, never have, other than, again, herbs and natural things in Chinese medicine. So when I finally decided, you know what, I know this stuff is natural. What's your hesitation? I had a little bit of fear, which I think people do because maybe they feel like it's going to be addictive. It's going to be something that once they start, they can't stop. They're going to have some kind of side effect that they didn't know was going to happen. They think they're going to get high. Again, we've already addressed that. Yeah. So now I know there are products out there though that do have CBD products that do have THC in them, aren't there?
Yes, and it's actually naturally occurring. So in hemp, and I grew hemp last summer because we grow our own and then we extract our own and we put it into our own products. We do all of it. And it's naturally occurring. And to be honest, right now, so there's 3 forms of CBD when you extract it, and it can be pricey because you need a lot of plant. It's basically like an essential oil. So you've worked, JJ, I know you've worked with essential oils. Like you need a lot of plant to get a little bit of oil out. And it's the same thing within that oil. And this depends on the genetics, where you grow it, how long you grow it. There's naturally occurring THC, as well as I mentioned those other cannabinoids, the CBG, the CBN, depends on, there's a lot of variables, right? You think about apples, there's yellow and green and red delicious, and it goes on and on and on. There's a lot of different types, right? Same thing with hemp and with the pot plant, marijuana. And it's naturally occurring in hemp. Now, people are very afraid of the THC, and I understand why, because as of right now, it's still a very gray area. We have more than half the country has either medical or recreational programs for cannabis, and they're constantly discovering the ways in which THC can help people as well. But we're sticking with CBD for this topic. So they actually work synergistically. You can extract, so there's 3 types of extraction that we use. We use a crude, which is like a first distillation. We use a distillate, which is like a next level filtered product. And then you can make an isolate, which is pure CBD, and it looks like white powder. The pure CBD, you would think, because CBD has been touted for all of these different things, it's highly anti-inflammatory, it's highly antioxidant, it's neuroprotective, it's neurogenerative. You would think by itself, because that's the way the pharmaceutical trade has made us think, that by itself, it's going to be even more potent, right? You're just going to need, it actually works less efficiently when it's isolated. I have found that with a little bit of the plant material, a little bit of the terpenes, the other phytocannabinoids, a little bit of the THC, it actually works better than when isolated. So now this is legal because it's naturally occurring. The level of THC that's allowed to be in hemp products is 0.3%, and that's national. That's the level across the board. Now at this time of this recording, there's a lot of states that are still figuring it out. There's some states that like Idaho are like, no, CBD is evil and we're going to keep it that way. And then there's states like Oregon and Colorado and Kentucky, believe it or not, where they're like, nope, this is great. There's no toxic levels. It helps people with a lot of stuff. It helps create jobs. It creates tax revenue. We're going forward. So it's a very complicated time. And this stigma and this preconception about the THC is part of all of that. So you can get products with CBD, and I carry them, that are just the isolate, no THC whatsoever. Right now in the industry, as I told you, we have an extraction lab where because of that stigma, and also not unjustified, there's a lot of people that do get drug screened for work. And if you take a CBD product that even has that tiny bit of THC, I always err on the side of caution and tell people, if you get drug tested for work, take isolate. You don't want to risk your job. It will change. I believe it will change, but we're not there yet. But I do believe if you can take the tiny bit of the THC in the naturally occurring, hemp extract, that is actually better, I have found.
Now, are any of the products you gave me, I know you told me there was some in there.
Yes, the tincture, the droplets, and I'm trying to remember where I sent you because it was a while ago. The capsules that I have are isolate. I think I sent you sleep capsules. And that has a bit of melatonin in it as well. But the tincture, which I actually use for both anxiety and for sleep support, has up to 0.3%. But that's even just, it's not even by volume of the whole bottle. So it's very, very low. Okay. It would not get you high, as I'm sure well, what was your experience?
Okay. So let's talk about my experience.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. So the package arrived on a Saturday. We were watching a wine movie. We're drinking some wine, but boy, did I open that fast and go right into the lotion and put it all over my legs. Mm-hmm. And I definitely, we're almost done with the lotion, by the way. I'm going to need to order some because I don't think I can live without the lotion, because the lotion gives me this feeling of like, it definitely like relaxes. It's almost like a muscle relaxant, but not an extreme one. It's a very mild one. And when I had a little bit of a twinge of I might get this leg thing, if I put the lotion on, it didn't happen.
That's amazing.
And I was having, like, I'd go take a bath sometimes and the heat would help. But then a couple hours later, maybe I would like twinge a little bit. And for those of you listening, when I mean restless leg, I have a somewhat biostructural reason why this is happening. If you do not, and you just have restless leg, it could also be forms of anxiety. It could be, pinched nerve in the spine. It could be, repressed emotion. So I want to start this show off, and I want to be clear and honest too with you, Suzy, right? In terms of where I'm going with this. I've known you for many years. I trust you. I trust your science. I trust Suzy's been the co-host of the Food Heals podcast. So, for this many years. And so, sort of that scientific getting to the root, using the most natural stuff is a part of who you are. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of people taking anything, to help overcome something, let's say, for a long period of time, forever necessarily. No, if we're not getting to the root cause. And I will say that, again, was another reason that stopped me for so long from doing it, because I thought, well, this isn't helping me figure it out and heal it. Well, it isn't, and it's not going to. And it's not going to for most people, quite honestly, because your anxieties and people's anxieties is coming from an emotional place, not necessarily and there are imbalances neurochemically, but there are other things we can do to sort of reset that. But here's where I appreciate my experience and being able to promote your company and your products and the use of CBD is because it is a hell of a better choice than Aleve and anxiety medications and all this other crap that people are taking. It's still not going to solve your end problem, which is why do I have it in the first place? But it is a bridge. When it came to I couldn't sleep for 3 nights, like by this point I have to sleep, and I'm still don't want to take a sleeping pill. And by the way, my sleep is better and I'm fine now, but I've also been doing other things. I do emotional, clearing inherited emotional DNA with Lisa. I've been doing EMDR and hypnosis, and I'm going through a transition in my life. So of course there's so many things that are going on. I don't have anxiety. but I definitely have stuck emotion. So I want to temper this conversation with, and be honest with you too, that because I've always said that there's a root cause emotionally, most likely, and sometimes hormonally. Hormones play a huge factor in women being able to sleep.
Yes.
Making sure you're taking progesterone or having your levels tested to see how out of balance you are, and possibly supplementing. Now, if you're not going to supplement, if you're someone who's against bioidentical hormones, I don't know why you would be, because the studies show that it's excellent and it keeps your body together for a long time. But let's just say you're against bioidentical hormones. Okay, and you can't sleep and you refuse to take any kind of progesterone or estrogen or testosterone. Well, okay, fine. Then CBD is probably the best next choice. It's like I want to give you access to the things that are healthy enough, natural enough, have positive benefits and very little side effects, and put them in the order in which people can access them whenever they feel like they're ready for them. So
Yeah. And I want to interject actually, because I do tell people this, sometimes I do local shows and things like that, local fairs and markets and things like that. And CBD does actually help your body fix itself. This is the difference between this and, like, say, Aleve, right? Aleve is an external substance. Your body does not make it. It's extracted, it's formulated, it's concentrated. You take it. If you take too much, we all know there can be damage to your liver or other parts of your body. CBD is natural. Your body makes it. You utilize it for a lot of different things. And it basically helps you, in a nutshell, this is my pitch. It helps your body fix itself if there's something to fix. If there's nothing to fix, it's going to keep you in good health, because it actually does help the immune system. And it helps nerve cells repair themselves. There's no thing that I know of, pharmaceutical or natural, that helps nerve cells protect themselves. It's neuroprotectant and neurogenerative. So it's been found, and they're working on this. They're trying to make not sure if they're trying to make a synthetic, but they did get a patent through for a drug specifically for seizures that's based on CBD. So the big pharma is coming, but I've even met people that have taken my tincture and used it for seizure treatment, both in dogs and in people. And they said that it helped them, that they noticed a difference. So it's a new type of classification of substance that I don't know, JJ, I'm always talking about nutrition. I'm a big fan of vitamin C. I'm a big fan of, high quality, naturally based supplements. But this is something else. This is its own category. It's helping your body, but it's like vitamin C, but we don't make our own vitamin C. That's why I'm saying it's like this new thing. We make it in our bodies. Our bodies recognize it as something that it needs and utilizes for so many different applications. I mean, the list goes on and on. Anxiety is one of them. You mentioned that. And as we both know, anxiety is multi-layered. It could be from a number of different causal factors. But in a nutshell, CBD helps your body fix itself if there's something to fix. That's my elevator pitch.
Okay. And I love that you brought up the seizures, and I love that you brought up animals, because actually years ago I had a client. Now, she was a little nuts, and what I mean by nuts, to not be judgmental, everybody, is that she had a lot of trauma in her childhood, a lot of trauma, and as an adult, she was a little bit manic, and with her animals. Now, she smoked a lot of pot, and I was never really for that. And I love that you, in the beginning of this, Suzy, talked about the difference between hemp and marijuana, and hemp having more CBD and less THC, and marijuana having more THC. So right, when we look at numbing, right, we did a whole show on addiction. We all have addictions. So I'm not a fan of numbing. I'm not a fan of ignoring, of denying, of pushing away from. Now, there's a difference between I'm consciously aware that I'm doing this, or at least I recognize this habit, versus, okay, you're having a seizure. We need something to calm the body down in order for it to regenerate and to fix itself, like Suzy said. And there are different situations where you need to take something, or, again, I'm not a huge fan of Western medicine, but it has its purpose. If I am in a car accident, take me to the hospital.
Totally.
Okay? So, that's the first choice, of course. So again, it's looking at the situation and really figuring out what is needed. So in the case of CBD, the first experience I had was with this client who was smoking way too much marijuana and just in constant denial. She was a mess. But what she did was introduce me to CBD gel for her dog. Because now with a human, you and I with a conscious mind can rationalize, can intellectualize, can learn, can conceptualize, visualize, and talk about why it might be good to get into some therapeutic situations where we don't need to numb ourselves all the time and to fix the diet and to fix the belief system and to look at all the different factors that created physical pain for this client. But her dog, of course, is not going to have that conversation, and her dog is not going to be able to talk back. So I thought, well, that's perfect. So she gave me a little hint of the CBD gel for the animals, and I used it on my cat because I had a cat at the time, Doc, who got very anxious at certain times. He had definitely a lot of trauma. So let's talk about CBD use and animals, because I know that there are companies that specialize in, or at least sell and create products specifically for animals. Could I use any of the things that you gave me on the animals, or do I need to reformulate and go get something else?
So yes, I actually created my own line of pet products specifically for my doggy Obi. He's no longer here, but he was part of the Food Heals podcast canine pack for many years, and he would sit in the background and every once in a while bark. And poor little guy developed diabetes. And I, being a massage therapist for many years and an energy worker, I was like, I'm going to heal him. I didn't heal him. I did my best. He got acupuncture. He got herbs. He got a raw food diet. He got, massage. He everything I could throw at him to try to fix his diabetic condition. So I created I have pet tincture, and I have it in 2 formulations. I have it in 250 milligram as well as 500, because animals. So the way you want to dose CBD is dependent upon what you're dealing with. And I just wrote a whole blog about this, but it's also your weight. So a tiny little dog compared to a big dog, or a tiny little cat compared to a bigger cat, would need different dosages. I found a lot of them out there were kind of small and not, so I call it paws, and I have paws and big paws for obviously bigger creatures, and they're human grade. The only difference between my pet tincture and my human tincture is I add flavor to the human tincture to make it a little bit more palatable. But all of the flavors, if you go out there and you see pet treats that have like bacon flavor or chicken flavor, those are all fake flavors. My company, I create everything to be as organic as possible, always vegan, and tasting and smelling great. So obviously for something that you're going to eat, I wanted to make it taste really good. I had tried CBD tinctures out there for my own anxiety before I had my company, and they were awful. And I was like, I'm never going to eat this. I'm never going to use this, even if it works. It's disgusting. So I tried to make everything taste really good. The pet tincture, I was just like, you know what? They don't need flavor. You can often just put it into their food. You can adjust the dosages, as JJ, you've seen with the tincture bottle, depending upon what they might need to find their level. And that's the only difference. Every mammal, every creature with a spine can utilize CBD. So they even have horse feed, chicken feed, obviously dog and cat treats. That's as much as I've seen out there, but I'm sure there's more coming for other specific animals. I read a study about dairy cows. They started giving dairy cows CBD, and they got another year out of them, and they were healthier. So any creature with a spine, any mammal, creates cannabinoids, and CBD will work for them just the way it works for humans. So if they have anxiety, if they have pain, if they have inflammation, if they have nerve issues, the list goes on and on. It will work just for them as it does for us. The hardest part is finding out how much they need. For instance, I've met a lot of dog owners that have seizures, and they come to me, and I always, the difference between me and other CBD companies is I try to be really hands-on. I'm very accessible, and I try to answer questions because people have a lot of questions. They have a lot of specific individual questions that are hard to answer when you're just doing a Google search, because you're going to get a lot of companies that are full of it. You're going to get some good companies that are doing the right thing and want to help you. So the hardest part for animals is to find out how much they need. You'll often see pet treats, and I suggest don't go with the pet treats, and here's why. Every animal is different. The pet treats often have about 5 milligrams per treat, and I'm specifically I've only seen dog treats. I haven't really seen cat treats, but I'm sure there's a lot of crossover there. You could bake CBD out. You can actually cook it out if you're making like a little biscuit or a little treat. You can actually cook it off. it can convert. And so that's why I say stay away from the treats. And there's also usually a lot of junk in them. I was thinking of creating one myself, but I'm not there yet. And it's easier to give your animal the proper dose or find their proper dose when you can adjust it yourself. So usually the pet treats are about 5 milligrams. If you have a really big dog, you're going to go through that in a day or 3 days, So I suggest tinctures, and yes, mine are human grade. And I created it specifically for my dog. Oh, and I didn't tell you this. When I started giving him CBD, we lowered his insulin twice. His blood sugar level started to normalize, and we were actually to lower his insulin dose. So I didn't get to heal him, but that was proof positive to me. And when I took him to the vet's like, what's going on? And I was like, well, I will tell you. I've been giving him CBD. And it didn't cure him, but it did help him, and it helped his energy. And I'm sure if he had any pain, I'm sure it helped him with his pain too.
And that's the goal of today's show for me, with introducing everyone to you and to CBD. I know of other products other than that gel that I mentioned. I haven't felt the need to interview anybody else or to feature any other product or program. I've had at least 5 different companies want to be on the show, and I've said no, because I wasn't ready, because I don't know them, and I knew
Right.
you were doing it, and I know you. And I trust you. And I wanted to massage into this idea, since I was, again, one of those people who was tentative because I don't do drugs. I barely ever smoked pot. I think I've smoked pot 5 times in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think each one was a bad experience, which is why I didn't continue. I've never smoked cigarettes. I don't do any other kind of hard drugs. The hardest thing I do is alcohol. And so for me, moving to something that is controversial and maybe looks like marijuana is something I've been staying away from. So I appreciate today's show and wanting to promote that first of all, that lotion, every part of your body. So let's talk about when you go to the chiropractor, or when you exercise, or when you pull a muscle. I would actually use this lotion put arnica on it first, but then I would use this lotion on it with the CBD in it to relax the muscles, because I find it to be very helpful for definitely different parts of my body. I've used it on my shoulder, I've used it on my neck, I've used it on my legs. And so you get A+++++. I love the lotion. I'm a client. I want to buy more. So, but I will say that for some reason, I have the bigger version of the sandalwood. I did take the smaller version with me to Atlanta, and I didn't feel that one was as powerful. I don't know why. Maybe it's the smell. Maybe because is there essential oils in the sandalwood, that scent? Or is it?
No, actually. And the reason being is that the sandalwood essential oil is A, very expensive if it's actually pure, and B, not sustainable. A sandalwood tree takes 100 years to mature. So when you buy a sandalwood essential oil, that's why it's so expensive, but also it would make it more expensive for me, more expensive for my customers, and it's just not sustainable. So I did love that scent. And I do use fragrance oil. I use some essential oils and some fragrance oils depending, because like, for instance, I have a vanilla scent. There's no vanilla essential oil. There's a vanilla absolute, and it actually doesn't smell like what we think as vanilla. So I try to find really good quality and put just enough in there to smell good.
Yeah, I have a big sandalwood, and I'm almost out of it. So when you tell everybody where to order, I'm going to have to go on there too to get some lotion, because again, to me, if you have any of those, and who doesn't have a pulled muscle, a strained muscle, a tired from flying or driving or working out, or you tripped and fell or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely put arnica on it first for the bruising. But when it comes to muscle stiffness, I think that the CBD works really great. Now the tincture.
Well, I just want
Yeah.
to interject, if I may. I just want to say thank you. I know you're a discerning audience and you only stand for top quality. So I really appreciate that. That was my very first product. As you know, I was a massage therapist for many years. I have a bad back myself from a cheerleading injury from when I was a teenager. And I had bought a cannabis lotion that was not very nice when you feeling. It smelled bad. It smelled like pot. And it didn't really work. And this is about 3 years ago. CBD was coming around, and I thought, well, what if I make something that I would want to use with CBD, not the THC, with hemp CBD, and see if it would work. And it did. So that was my very first product. So I'm really happy that you like it. I created everything that I created for myself first, because I only make stuff that I'm the person that tries everything. I'm my own guinea pig. So I don't sell anything until I approve it and I like it, and I'm a snob that way. So I try to make sure that everything smells good, is effective, and is organic.
And you have the face cream too, which I haven't used it regularly enough to say anything about it, but I like the story that you told. Why don't you tell everybody how you came up with your facial cream?
Yeah, so that's related to the body lotion. Actually, I have a lot of sun damage, specifically on my left arm from driving in LA for over a decade. And I'm right-handed. So when I make my body lotions, I hate wasting them. So I have a little extra. I always rub it onto my left arm. And I started to notice that the sunspots on my left arm were slowly fading compared to my right arm. And I have to start documenting this because people aren't going to believe me that the left arm is going to disappear. The reason that that is happening is that CBD is highly antioxidant, more than vitamin C, more than acai, more than any. It has a high oxidative reduction potential, ORP. And that's one of the reasons why it's so anti-inflammatory and helps our body fix itself. It goes in there and mops up free radicals and gets rid of them. And that includes keeping skin healthy and the collagen healthy and fading sun damage. So when that started happening, I thought, holy crap, I'm creating a skincare line, just like my body lotion, but specifically for the face. I had people, more men than women, but I had people at that time rubbing my unscented lotion on their face because they loved it so much. And I thought, well, I'm going to make something a little bit more delicate. I'm snobbish in terms of my facial care, and I've spent a lot on it in the years after, getting into my 30s and 40s to make sure I stay youthful. So yeah, that was the impetus for the facial care. Right now we have a moisturizer, a vitamin C moisturizer, and then we have a blueberry cranberry oxygen mask. And just before we started recording today, JJ, I'm working on, I have 4 other products I'm coming out with, like a facial wash, an eye cream, an exfoliating scrub, and a few other things for the face. Because I just find it just amazing for skincare. I have a lot of ladies in and around Bend, Oregon that are just fans of my moisturizer. And when they run out, they call me immediately because they love it.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to trying more of it because I have, this little sample that I have. And again, like I said, I haven't committed to that. The 2 I've committed to are the lotion, the body lotion, and then the tincture. So let's talk about the tincture for a second, because that one, I think you told me, be careful. You don't know, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to fall asleep. So I definitely did overdose the first day, and I took more than I needed to. And overdose meant I fell asleep. But there was no other real side effect to that. So I have found that I haven't found the exact dosage for me. I don't take it all the time. I took it 2 nights ago. I did have an issue sleeping, although last night was perfect. Last night I didn't take anything. I didn't do anything. Other than like magnesium and potassium and calcium, but I went to bed. I was so exhausted because the night before I didn't go to sleep. And I even took 2 doses of the tincture, and I was a little bit immune to it. So I find that depending on what I need from it, the dosage is going to change.
Yes.
What I do love about it, I love how little I need. I love the taste of it. That's mint that I have. And I love the option of having it again. If somebody was taking sleep medication and they didn't want to wean off of it because they wouldn't be able to sleep, this would be something I would recommend, that you take the tincture or you try it instead of a sleeping pill. Because I know a lot of people who are on sleeping pills for years and years and years, or prescription medication, which, guys, that's ruining your liver and your kidneys. Yeah. So this is another option that if you aren't, I get it, sleep is important, which is why we're having the show, because this is what the impulse was, to explore CBD, because I'm not going to take a drug because of the side effects and the addictive the addictive qualities of, wow, I slept so soundly because this knocked me out. Well, why aren't you sleeping? We need to uncover, and I'm starting to uncover some of the underlying reasons why I have had issues sleeping recently. I've never, and now all of a sudden, and so now I'm looking at that. But in the process of uncovering and healing what those things are, whether it be my neurotransmitters have been slightly off, whether it is I need a little bit more progesterone, whether it's because I'm going through some emotional issues and time in my life in this transition. I'm also highly excited about all the good things that are happening in my life. There's a lot of stuff going on. So as I'm working through that, though, if I'm not sleeping, I need help. It's not because I'm going to use it forever to sleep or to knock me out. But boy, is it nice to know that in my medicine cabinet, I have homeopathic stuff and all kinds of natural stuff with different degrees of strength to help me no matter where I am. And so I want everyone to consider and to go to Suzy's website, because first of all, you need the lotion. Everybody needs the lotion. The tincture is something that I would recommend that you have on hand for situations like this.
Yeah.
That isn't something that you take every day. If you have animals, absolutely 100%. I don't want to give my animals a drug to knock them out or tranquilize them, but I would absolutely rub some CBD gel or lotion on their belly to help them calm down a little bit. And because you're not going to rationalize with your animal. So I definitely have been for years definitely very supportive of CBD products for animals, because anxiety is bad for their heart. It's bad for their digestion. It's bad for every part of your animal. And again, we're not going to get to the root cause of your animal, although at the same time, I do have a medical intuitive that could help with some of that, but with your animal and helping to treat or diagnose on a different level and clear some stuff. But you want to have stuff on hand that you can use right now if your animal is in trouble or if you're having trouble. And here is a new consideration of a product that is natural. So are there any other questions or sort of stigmas that we didn't cover that you think need to be addressed, just so that people can feel a little bit more safe or excited about trying it? They're not going to get addicted to it. It's an antioxidant. You can use it on your face. You can use it with animals.
One thing I will say is if you are on any medications already, specifically, and this is the only, I'm not a doctor, but if you're on any medications, you'll want to check with your doctor, because there is one drug that I do know of. It's the one, it's a heart medication that if you are told you can't eat grapefruit or grapefruit juice, CBD could interact with that in terms of in the liver. So you just want to make sure if you are on any medications, just check with your doctor to make sure there's no interactions. Other than that, if you are not on any medications, there's no side effects, there's no overdose limit. It's just wonderful stuff. The stigma is slowly fading, and I can't tell you how many times, JJ, I get when I do these summer markets up here in Oregon, where I get children and grandchildren pulling their grandmothers or mothers or the grandparents or parents over and saying, "This is what you have to try. This is what I told you about." And I get them all the time, the older generations more often, where they're afraid to get high. They just don't know, and it's slowly fading, because that generation and everybody actually, when they start to get pain, when they start to get issues, we're seeking out better options than just a prescription that has how many freaking side effects or how many ways that it can also adversely hurt you, and not necessarily heal the thing that you're going in for. So that's in a nutshell. I mean, like I said, I could talk about it forever. Oh, I did want to mention this. And this was a happy accident. I never even thought about this, but I have found that the lotion is actually also good for kitchen burns or sunburns. So my friend was cooking, and she seared her steak and she put it in the oven. And then when she went to go grab the pan, she forgot to put a pot holder on her hand and seared her hand. And immediately her boyfriend said, "Go get Suzy's lotion and put it on." She put it on about 3 times in a half an hour. And within the first application, in about 10 minutes, because it was bad. She told me it was like really bad, her whole palm. She put it on, the pain started to dissipate. The next morning, there was no blister. It was fine. So I have since used that because I love to bake and cook. I have burned myself, and it does work. It works for pain in the kitchen. It works for sunburns. A friend of mine went to Hawaii and said her little kid got sunburned, and she used the lotion and it was fine, or at least the pain went away. So that was just a happy accident one to add that.
No, that's great, because I definitely bake and cook and do get burned from time to time, and would like to know to have that on hand. I know this was on one of the questions that you had offered to me, and I guess because I know the answer, you asked, is it legal? But go ahead, answer that question. I know that, I mean, obviously you're selling it, so it's illegal. We're not promoting illegal things on the show.
Yes, it is legal. It is federally legal. But thereafter, so it was signed in the 2018 Farm Bill in December, where they federally separated hemp and CBD and CBD products and from marijuana and THC. So even though more than half the country has medical and recreational marijuana systems, it still remains a Schedule I drug. But hemp and CBD, as of last December 2018, is federally legal. However, certain states are still being sticks in the mud. Like I said, Idaho, and Texas is still kind of up in the air. The majority of states, if you have a medical or recreational marijuana program, or hemp addendums. The majority of states are okay with it. There's just a handful. I think there's like 4 or 5 that are still figuring it out for themselves. So it is, but it isn't, but it is, but it isn't. It's still in this gray area. I feel like, not to be all conspiratorial, but I feel like there's certain still powers that be that want to control people and prevent them from getting a more natural aid in helping their bodies.
Yeah, that would be the pharmaceutical companies.
What's that?
That would be the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
Yes.
And like I said, they're already patenting their own version specifically for seizures. And they always love to say, oh, there's more studies need to be had. And that may be true, but as far as I'm concerned, if there's no ever overdose potential, if there's no side effects, what's the problem, you know? So I believe in it. They're still figuring it out, but federally it is legal.
And if you have someone in your life that does have anxiety, who you know is never going to deal with it, okay, because that's the other thing I want to interject here. I'm thinking about certain people in my life who, while people that listen to this show and to me and to Food Heals podcast, you know, they're the more conscious people. They're looking for solutions. They're looking for depth. They're looking for connection. They're looking for healing. But at the same time, there are people in our lives who aren't looking for that at all. Maybe they think they are. They may say they want a solution, but they really don't. And they're not looking for natural ways. They just want to go to the doctor, get the pill, and be done. So if there are people in your life who you love, who you are concerned about how much medication they're taking for certain things, or how wound too tight they are, like I'm thinking about my mother, who is relaxed. She's not completely wound too tight, but I would love to send her some lotion and tell her to put it on her feet at night. And I bet you, and on her legs and parts of her, and I bet you that she would have an amazing response to that. And I wouldn't even need to tell her what's in it. So just for those of you that are listening who understand, there's a spectrum of when you prescribe certain things. You know, it's all relative. Quick little story. I think I've talked about this on the show before. My mom was taking care of a woman. She was an executor of this woman's estate. This woman had no children. She was never married, and they went to the same church, and the woman died. But during that time, she was sort of losing weight, and she was really thin and frail, and she's very old, and they live in Pennsylvania. And my mother and I talked about how to basically, what could we do? And at that point, you know, I think I recommended that she drink an Ensure. Now, I think Ensure is crap. There is nothing but crap at Ensure. But you know what? This woman was not going to make herself a smoothie in a blender. Right. And she lived by herself. So she needed something easy that she could open herself and be done with. So, you know, we're at the stage of life where that is a recommendation I would not tell anyone who listens to this show to have in your life. But again, it's all relative to your situation. So I just wanted to offer today's show in CBD as one of those tools in your toolbox for a situation that honestly is probably better than half the stuff in your medicine cabinet right now. So I'm a fan. I don't, though, want to buy anybody else's products except Suzy, because I know her and I trust her. And I don't want someone sneaking in. I bet you that's another thing people also are afraid of, Suzy, is that, you know, how much THC is in different products and how much more somebody else may put in theirs. And I don't know the difference.
Yeah, you know, the bigger concern I would have, I don't find that there are too many CBD companies out there that are putting in more THC. That would get them in a lot of trouble legally, and you'd actually have to use a lot more. If they're using it for marijuana, that's a whole different story. What I would suggest is making sure that the company that whoever you're buying from, I mean, I'd rather you buy from me, but a lot of companies out there are putting a certain amount of CBD on there, but it's not correct. I'll give you an example. The very first tincture I tried before I had my company, I was trying to find some relief from my anxiety. I tried a tincture that was out of Texas, strangely enough. They got their CBD from Amsterdam at the time. I didn't feel any relief. And it's kind of hard also when you take a tincture for anxiety or even for sleep, sometimes you're thinking about it. You're like, what am I supposed to feel? I don't know what I'm supposed to feel. I tell people when you take the tincture, if you're looking to relax or go to, you know, it's like that feeling that you laying in the sun at the beach, that kind of relaxation, that body relaxation. It's not a high, but it's a general relaxation. I took this product. It didn't do anything. Turns out they didn't have any CBD in their tincture. I don't know if they did that on purpose or, like I said, they cooked it out, because you do have to heat the oil to get it to homogenize with an oil base or an alcohol base, whatever they're using. So you just want to make sure that your company is reputable and what they say is actually, what they're saying is in the jar is actually in the jar. That's why some people will try certain products and they're like, I didn't find any relief. And then I tell them, well, either you didn't take enough or that company is not putting in what they say they're putting in. So this gets a little bit more complicated, but CBD goes by weight. But then therein, depending on who processed it and who grew it, there's an activation potential. So it could be 10% active. So if it says it's 100 milligrams and it's only a 10% activation, it could be actually only 10 milligrams in whatever product, or it could be 98% active, which is the CBD isolate. So it gets very complicated, and companies are still figuring this out, and it will get more regulated and strict, which is a good thing because people just want to know how much to take. That's the biggest question that I get. And it's the hardest to answer because A, everybody has a different threshold. And then B, it depends on what you're looking to achieve within that threshold. And even for myself, like you said, JJ, like when I use my tincture for anxiety, if I'm just a little nervous, I need a little bit. When I'm full on panic attack, I need a whole dropper. I need 2 droppers. So even within my own body, I have different levels of what I need. But that's just an important thing to consider.
Well, the fact that the side effects are antioxidants and decreasing inflammation and taking a nap, I'll take those over any of the side effects of most medications. So why don't you tell everybody where to find your stuff?
Yeah, you can find us online at cbdfountain.com.
Okay. And is there anything that we could, that was very short and sweet. Let's repeat that again, cbdfountain.com. And if someone was looking to try something, I know we've talked about all kinds of different things, and that you are very hands-on, but if you had like a bestseller or something that you would recommend people start with, what would that be?
I have an intro set, and it includes a lotion and a tincture and a lip balm, and that's discounted. And then all of your listeners will also get they can use the code JJ for 20% off their first order.
Can I use that code?
Yes, you can. You're okay. JJ.
Okay. Use JJ code for 20% off.
20% off. And then the intro set is a really good value. So that's even more discounted that you'll get to try the tincture and the lotion and a little lip balm. People love my lip balm.
Yeah, I actually gave one to a friend. Doug's been using one. I use them. So yeah, I love all the products so far. The ones that I've used the most are the tincture and the lotion, and I want to use more of the face cream. And there was such a little, I only had like 5 or 6 of the little.
I will send you
pills.
Yeah, I will send you a bigger face cream so you can try it, and then also you'll be my tester, one of my testers, because I send things out to a specific group of ladies for the facial care. So you'll be one of them.
Yeah, well, we can do a whole show on the facial care stuff. I'd love to see some before and afters. I want definitely take pictures of your arms, because I think that's a great story, and people want to know that. And why not switch out your moisturizer for something that has another compound in it that could possibly take away sun damage and add more antioxidants? So yeah, I'm all for that. So everyone please check out Suzy's company, cbdfountain.com. Please know that I've had at least 3 other CBD companies in the last couple of years want to be on the show, and I wasn't ready. So this is a very specific, like I told Suzy, we've had this conversation. It's been years, and I have her on the show, and I wasn't ready yet. So here I am. And then we'll have her back on when the regulations start happening. I did a show on honey, and we talked about sort of what's in the industry of Manuka and the UMF, and how some people don't have a UMF and they're making up other names, and it's not. So I had Joyce Dales on to really go over with us how to buy Manuka honey and what to look for. And so as things start to really regulate here, let's go over again what to look for if they're not going to buy from you, but they're just to be aware, because all the other companies may offer different things that you offer too, but they want to know a little bit more specifically on how to be an educated shopper. So
yeah, and it's spreading. I mean, I've seen the increase tenfold over the past year, but it's just everywhere. I'm from New York, and my dad even told me, he's like, oh, there's a CBD shop opening here. I was like, well, look at that. It's all over the place.
cbdfountain.com. Let me know if you get her products, how you like them. I'd love to be able to do some testimonials next time around. Suzy, thanks so much for being here.
JJ, thank you so much. I'm honored that I won out over the other companies, and really glad to be here. Thank you.